I'm joined by Canadian singer-songwriter Rachel Cousins, who hails from St. John's, Newfoundland. And I have to start off with saying, happy release day, Rachel.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Your third studio album, What Hasn't Killed Me, was just released, a few hours ago, October 10th, 2025. So how does it feel now that it's released to the masses?
It's amazing. I'm really excited, honestly. And it feels like it's all happened so fast. And it feels like I really only started this album yesterday. So it's kind of crazy. And I don't really know if it's sunk in yet, but I'm really excited. And people seem to be excited also. So I'm happy.
I watched a recent interview with Taylor Swift, and she said she listens to her previous album the night before a new album is dropped. So do you have any rituals that are kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yesterday, there's a lot of lead up. It feels like it's literally Christmas Eve or something. So last night I spent the night just listening to my favorite songs and not necessarily my own music, just because I don't want to put myself in this whole headspace of freaking myself out or anything in a weird way, because I do get really bad anticipatory anxiety with a lot of things. So I listen to my own favorite music just in general, and songs that have inspired this album maybe, and maybe the full albums that I listened to while I was in California. I know I did a lot of that yesterday. Maybe I didn't even do it intentionally, but thinking about it, it kind of happens naturally just with emotion. So yeah.
So what are some of those tunes and some of those albums that you listened to that inspired this work from you?
When I was in California, it's funny because I was listening to a lot of things that were complete opposite of what I was working on. So when I spent the month in California, when I was walking to the studio every day, I was listening to Chromacopia because Tyler, the Creator, had just released that. And so I listened to that album every day because I thought it was so fascinating, just the entire production on that, and the writing is genius, as it always is with him. So I listened to that, and then in terms of inspiration for the album, there's a lot of Lizzie McAlpine and Boy Genius. Boy Genius was pretty hot at the time, and they had just announced that they were taking a break a couple months before I had done this album. So I don't know, there was a bunch of music that I gravitated towards that put me in inspiration and in mode for writing this album. But then there's a lot that I listened to that was complete opposite of what I was doing, just because I think that it also really helps your brain in some creative way.
So you teamed up with Grammy-winning producer Greg Wells, who has worked with some amazing artists in his career. So you mentioned you were in California, putting some of this together, putting the album together. How did it go working with Greg on your new album?
Greg's amazing, and I can say so much good about him. And he's a very humble person, very intelligent, of course, when it comes to music, and a genius when it comes to musicality. And watching him work in the studio was fascinating. I must say, it just comes so naturally to him. But he's also just a really sweet person, and I got to know his family quite well. I stayed with his family my first trip in California, and they were so sweet and really made me feel like family when I was away from home and in a different state for only the second time in my life. So yeah, it was nice, and I learned a lot from him, especially when it comes to doing things in play mode instead of approaching everything with so much harshness and judgment towards yourself. It all worked out really funny because he has ties to Newfoundland. His family is from here, and he came back to reface a church out in Winterton, and it's called Trinity Hall, and there's a beautiful studio in there. Jake Wesley Rogers just recorded another album out in the church, but it's beautiful, and Greg's been working out there, and he started a record label, Silly Cove Records, out of there, and I signed with them after meeting Greg, and it all just kind of happened from there. Greg's been doing it. It's a non-for-profit, and he's been doing it out of the goodness of his heart and out of passion for the talent that he sees here in Newfoundland, and that's just kind of how it worked out for me as well, yeah.
Never been to Newfoundland, but we spent some time in Cavendish, Prince Edward Island the past 2 years for SWOMP Festival. And that part of the country, it's absolutely picturesque. It's beautiful. It's tranquil. And it's got to be an inspirational place to be as a musician to start that writing process.
It is. I mean, Newfoundland is genuinely so full of talent, and people, when I say that, when I'm away from home, people just genuinely think of Irish traditional, which of course there's a lot of that here as well, and Newfoundland traditional music and the kitchen party vibe, and that's a whole amazing part of the culture here in Newfoundland. But then there's also so many insanely talented artists when it comes to your singer-songwriter. There's so many great pop music. There's so much great rock music here. There's just a lot of it on the island. And so I'm surrounded by artists that are better than me and that are smarter and that are making these insane albums. And I'm constantly inspired by people I'm surrounded by. And I consider myself very blessed in that way. for sure.
So I've read that this album for you is really described as your most vulnerable and ambitious work yet. And it's really raw. It's a coming-of-age project that kind of blends confessional storytelling with cinematic soundscapes. So would you agree with that, Rachel?
Yeah, for sure. I keep saying that this album is like a couple pages out of a journal and like a coming of age movie to me, and it kind of wrote itself in a funny way. And so yeah, I think that the description kind of nails it on the head for me personally. I always say that like I think I needed this album a lot, like just for myself and to put it out into the world and like see what I was capable of in the least corny way possible. Like I genuinely do think that I needed that, and it feels really cathartic now to have it out in the world and people connecting with it in their own ways.
It sounds like, too, that you made kind of a deliberate break with this album, like breaking away from the pop music type of genre more into the AC adult contemporary genre. Do you feel that's more authentic for you right now in this stage in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I always say like music grows with you as a person, and I think that it's kind of shown in the way that I have written my music and I've put things out. I think that I've just grown as a person, and I'm 24 now, and I have more stories to tell and more experience, and I've done a lot of like self-discovery, and I know that I have a lot more self-discovery to do. And so I think that that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about more in my music. And I knew that I wanted to get a bit more deep and more personal, and it just kind of happened in that way. And working with Greg was another reason for that, to be honest. He just like held the space really well for that in ways that I don't even really know. You can't ask a person to do that, and it just kind of worked out that way.
And for what I understand, I read a quote from you that said that the songs just started pouring out of you, and that you felt free, and that what would normally, take you a few days to put something together, it was coming to you like in under an hour.
Yeah, I wrote a lot. Like as every artist knows, you like write and prep for an album, and you're doing a lot of co-writes. And I went up to California with like 10 songs that I had ready for the album that I thought maybe had a chance of getting on there. And Greg just kind of knew what needed to happen. And in a weird way, it's like I would go back to my apartment and use the guitar that Greg had let me borrow for the month. And I would sit on the floor and just like write what I felt. And being in a different place is just a whole nother bucket of inspiration for you. So like feeding off of that, I would just sit and write, and I would write in like 45 to an hour. And then I'd go in the next day and show Greg these songs. And those would be the ones that would end up getting on the album because they just came naturally and without me forcing anything. In a way.
You've mentioned already the East Coast music scene and all the talent out there, but you're definitely a part of that and you're being recognized for it. So you've gotten 6 MusicNL awards, 3 nominations this year, multiple East Coast Music Award nominations. You've been on national TV, and you're getting hundreds of thousands of streams. So what does this, for you personally, Rachel, what does this mean, this kind of recognition mean to you?
Oh gosh, I mean, I do think that I have a bit of like imposter syndrome with a lot of things, and it doesn't tend to process for me right away, and it takes a minute. But I think that the like younger artist in me is really happy and really excited that things are happening in this way, and it feels like I'm finally doing it at a pace that feels right to me. And I think that I know like what my intentions are for myself and my career, and it all just kind of feels like it's coming around and settling for now. And like I don't get comfortable in the settle because I know that there's like another big expand and things that will continue happening, and I'm just leaning into doing that stuff scared, and also like leaning into finding the excitement and all of those things. And yeah, I mean, I'm really happy, and I'm happy with where everything's at right now, and I'm excited to see what happens in the future, even within the next year, because so much changes.
You've already shared the stage with numerous Canadian icons, really. Alan Doyle, Serena Ryder, the Beaches. So what have you learned along the way playing with some of these artists? A
lot of it has just been like integrity and being genuine and doing what feels right to you. Like, authenticity is another big thing that I learned from seeing artists like that. Serena Ryder's a big one because she's just so personable and so talented, and what she throws on stage does feel authentic. And I obviously don't know what it feels like to her, but the way that it comes across feels like that. And I don't know, like I think that I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by like some really cool female artists that have just been doing it and that are putting out some really cool stuff and that are so cool to watch on stage. And I hold that close to my heart, and I think about it all the time, and I ruminate on things like that all the time in performances, and I'm very grateful for sure.
So I saw as well that you were a part of a show, kind of a tribute to one of my favorite artists of all time, Chris Cornell. So how did that go?
Oh, it was amazing. That was so fun. I really hope to do more shows like that, just shows that people are putting off that are doing really cool covers and things like that. That was such a cool show, and I love singing harmony and doing things with a full band, and so that was a cool one for sure.
So with the release of What Hasn't Killed Me, so can we expect some Rachel Cousins tour dates to kind of accompany the album drop?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I'm doing my show to play the whole album live with a band on the 17th at the Black Ship, which I have my weekly residence at. I play there every Wednesday, and so I'm doing that on the 17th, and I hope that I can block off some weeks and just get aboard the car and travel in the fall and just go across the island and do some small venues and do some intimate shows, just acoustic shows with maybe another artist and split the bill with local people. And I think that'd be really nice. And that's honestly just what I have in mind for this album. I think that it would serve it well. And yeah, I definitely hope to do that.
How is that combination of having the album, but then playing it live? You mentioned that that's a goal to get out there and do, but what does that mean, I guess, to the music and to the songs to put them in that live setting? Is that something that take the songs to another level that you don't even know where it'll go yet, kind of thing?
I mean, these songs serve themselves well, just acoustic, because that's how they were written originally, and that's how they started when we were tracking them. It's just me playing a guitar or piano or whatever it is, and that's how I play my shows 95% of the time. And so I think that I'm really looking forward to just sitting down in a small room full of people that I can talk to them about the song beforehand. I love chatting about how I wrote the song or what it's about or the situation I was in when I wrote it. And then playing them like that, I think that it serves the lyrics, and I love songwriter circles and those types of shows are my favorite. And so I think that this album, it would just be the perfect way to showcase it.
Well, we can't wait for that. And for anyone listening to this podcast today, definitely stay tuned to rachelcousinsmusic.com for all the updates. Rachel, it has been a pleasure, and thanks for taking some time to chat with us on release day.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.